Going through the box of DVDs, Blu-rays, and basically just trying to see what I want to watch. Wait a minute. What? Oh my god. It's the Alien vs. Predator Double Future. I want to rewatch the first movie, as it's actually been a while since I've seen it. I haven't seen it since middle school. It's not as good as I remembered that it used to be. Alien and Predator. Both are really great, awesome films in the horror and sci-fi genre. I absolutely really loved the first Alien movie. I thought that the first Alien movie was really good overall, and a great introduction to the xenomorph, and a great introduction to the characters and to the universe around it. And basically, yeah, despite that it was giving a bit of a low budget, I thought it was still really great. And looking back at it now, it does seem dated at some sorts, but it's still scary as hell, and it's still overall really good. Predator, I overall absolutely really love, as this is one of my favorite action, sci-fi, horror films ever made. I really like the horror aesthetics with this. I like the Predator's design, as the Predator's design overall just looks really amazing. The aliens design, the xenomorph, is also pretty amazing in the first movie as well. And then we got the sequel, Aliens, which I absolutely really love a lot more than the first movie, as Aliens had a lot of action and also had some really good jump scares here and there. The action for it is shot and edited pretty well, and the movie was brilliantly directed by James Cameron. And Predator 2, while not as good as the first, it still is actually really good, and it still is absolutely enjoyable. And I absolutely love Predator 2. Predators, overall, it was absolutely really amazing, and I did really love it. Alien 3, while not as good as Alien or Aliens, it's still enjoyable. And Resurrection, really, really bad as hell, and I wouldn't recommend you to watch it. And The Predator, that's a story for another video, because today I want to talk about something a little bit more different. Today I will be talking about one of the worst crossover films ever made, and just one of the worst films in general, Alien vs. Predator. This movie was basically voted as one of the worst crossover films ever made. And you have to keep in mind, this was back before Marvel created the MCU, before Marvel Studios had the idea of a shared universe, the VSQ production universe. And the movie was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, the man behind films like Mortal Kombat 1995 and the god-awful live-action Resident Evil movies. He's like the Michael Bay version of video game film adaptations. This movie had been in development hell ever since Predator 2, where they sneak into an Easter egg where the xenomorphs do actually exist and probably live in the same universe, and basically just, yeah. And anyway, yeah. The movie was in development hell since, I believe, 1997 or something like that, and it spawned a whole lot of marketing with toys, video games, fan films, and so much more. And basically, yeah, the movie was released in 2004, August 13th, and it received bad reviews from fans and critics, but it did very well at the box office, and it would gain to spawn a sequel years later, which we'll get into that when we get there. But anyway, yeah, today I want to do a big ass review on this on this film. Now, for those of you who do not know what Big Ass Reviews is, Big Ass Reviews is where I start reviewing on bad films, guilty pleasures of movies that I love watching, reviewing bad films I really like to make fun of, and basically just, yeah. Anyway, without further ado, let's get to the video. Basically, yeah, this movie just basically, it just sucks. I mean, when you think of Alien vs. Predator, you might think that it might be a good movie. Well, in reality, it's not. First of all, the aliens are not really that good. They kind of look a little different. They look a little bulky. Second, the Predators also look a little bulky, but yeah, and the face designs look a little weird. 3, this movie has a PG-13 rating. It's rated PG-13 when every other Alien movie and Predator movie was rated. The movie was basically giving a PG-13 rating when every other Alien movie and Predator movie was rated R. And basically, the reason why it had a PG-13 rating was because of box office wise, to have audiences, including some preteens, I believe, who are 13 and who are 13, 14, and a little older, and basically just, yeah, teenagers who would definitely watch this movie. And basically, yeah, just to basically, yeah, because of box office reasons. And yeah, it did not do very well as they thought. Well, I mean, it did very well at the box office wise, but it did not do very well with critics. And basically, yeah, I mean, the critics give it some negative reviews, although it's not bad. Alien vs. Predator is not like terrible. It's not like the worst film that has been ever made. I've seen far more worse Alien and Predator films ever made, and basically, yeah, I've seen far more worse films in the franchise than this, or any other type of worse movies in general. Like, I've seen Batman and Robin, I've seen Catwoman, or I've seen Super Mario Brothers movie, the live action one, which was terrible. And basically, yeah, as a kid I used to love watching it, but as an adult now, I realize how bad that really was. Anyway, yeah, some of the characters do really feel bland anyway, but I'm only going to be focusing on some of the few ones that do get screen time. And one of the characters that I really like, well, not really like too much, and basically, yeah, but some of the characters I found really interesting are Alexa Woods. Alexa Woods is by far one of the most interesting characters throughout the franchise, but she does feel like a bland piece of paper sometimes. She does seem to feel uninteresting, like Alice from the Resident Evil franchise. And basically, yeah. And speaking of which, like I said, the aliens and predators look pretty bulky. They don't look or feel like aliens and predators too much. Sometimes they do in some sorts of the films, but in others here, they feel like that they were made for a fan film rather than an actual movie, because this movie feels like a fan film, and not because of like how the look at the film and the editing. Yeah, basically the look and the editing for this movie feels like a fan film, but it feels like a fan film in a funny way, not in like a bad way, unlike AVPR, but you know, we'll get to that when we get there. Anyway, it feels more like a fan film. I mean, if you take a look at the action scene, yeah, you could kind of tell that you're in for a real treat for the action. I mean, the most things that I really like about this movie are basically some of the aliens and predators and the fight scene between Celtic and Grid. Despite that the aliens and predators look really fat and bulky, and that they look like that it was designed for a fan film, and they feel more like cheap Halloween costumes, and yeah, or sometimes they look like costumes designed for a fan film. And basically, yeah. But the one thing I could really say is some of the action. I mean, if you look at the action between the Celtic Predator and the Grid Alien, the fight between Celtic and Grid, which is actually one of the most highlighted action scenes and one of the most famous ones. It has like some of that Matrix S-type style, since that's what Paul W. Anderson was known for his live-action Resident Evil films. They have that Matrix, they have like that Matrix S-type style, since you know everyone was a popular fan of the Matrix back then, and you have to keep in mind this was back when the Matrix was very popular back in the 90s and back in the late 90s and back in the early 2000s, and around that time it was still popular. And there's always that thing where every movie always has to have a Matrix reference. Yeah, like I said, there are some shots that do look a little bit more like a fan film. The editing also feels like that it was more like a fan film rather than an actual movie. And basically, yeah. I mean, what is this? Is this a fan film, or is this a movie that is supposed to be released in theaters? They also got Lance Henriksen to reprise his role as Bishop, although this is a different Bishop because this movie is set on modern day Earth and it's not set in the future like most of the rest of the Alien films. Basically, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Lance Henriksen. He's a great actor. I love his performances. I love him as Bishop in Aliens, and I also love seeing the real Bishop, which is a different kind of bit. It's very confusing for the timeline, but this was the real Bishop in Alien 3, and basically, yeah. And here, the Lance Henriksen just feels a little bland, but he's still likable, at least like he was in Aliens, and how he was in the ending of Alien 3. And basically, yeah, even though that he gets killed by the Predator, the Scar Predator, at least the action for this film are fun to watch, better than the story itself. I mean, the story being set on modern day Earth, where basically that kind of creates a plot hole. Doesn't that basically deflects Ripley's mission to not let the aliens on Earth? Yeah, I mean, this movie has a lot of flaws. I mean, in the Alien series, Ripley's whole goal was to make sure that the aliens do not get to Earth. But here, they're already on Earth the entire time, and it turns out that the Predators basically use them for sacrifice mentals. Yeah, no joke. They used them for like sacrifice mentals back in Egypt, and yeah, bad idea. I mean, it's an interesting concept seeing these types of things happening, including with the Predators finding the xenomorphs, the Predators finding the alien, and basically, yeah. Although, yeah. And the alien queen in this movie just feels a little wasted, and yeah, and for some reason she can't die too much often until the other second half, and that action scene just kind of takes me out of the movie a bit. It just feels like that sometimes. But at least with the rest of the action, it does look really cool. But it does have like that Matrix, Resident Evil S-type style action, since Paul W. Anderson is mainly known for having that Matrix S-type style action in the Resident Evil movies. And basically, yeah. Here in this, it's alright, but it's actually enjoyable. A lot more enjoyable than how it was portrayed in Resident Evil, in my opinion. And basically, yeah. I mean, when you think of Alien fighting the Predator, you might think that, hey, it might be a good movie, who knows? Well, I have some bad news for you. It might not be. I mean, it is a guilty pleasure of a movie to watch. Don't get me wrong. And basically, yeah. The ending just kind of feels a little downwards, and the action just feels very poor. Don't get me wrong, the ending does feel a little interesting, but it's just that it just kind of feels a little bland sometimes, and basically just, yeah, it does feel a little awkward, it does feel bland, but, yeah. Anyway, yeah. I just think overall, in conclusion, I just hate Alien vs. Predator so bad that it's actually enjoyable, so bad that it's good. It's one of those guilty pleasures of a movie to watch, that, of course, along with other films like Your Highness and probably Tusk, and so many other guilty pleasures of films to watch, and basically, yeah. Sure, it may not be perfect, but hey, I do like it, and basically, yeah. Yep. If I were able to review this movie, I'd probably give it, like, maybe three stars, and a guilty pleasure of a watch. Just probably just rent it or stream it. I don't know. If you have, like, a local video rental store that you like, then go give it a rent. And if you have like a streaming platform, probably Hulu, or maybe you can watch it digitally on your TV, then go give it a watch, I guess. Anyway, that's all for today's video. I'm Nicolas Reviews. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.